Hey, Cartman.
Carl! It's all gone! They've taken it all! Why are they doing this? Carl! Carl!
2007 was a big year for my generation. The launch of the first ever iPhone, the calm before the storm of the global financial crisis right around the corner, and of course the final episode of The Sopranos airing. And one thing arguably even more important that happened this year was the release of the first ever skate game by EA, bringing an incredibly authentic and realistic approach to skating in video games, being something completely new compared to the beloved Tony Hawk games of the time. While they were and still are iconic games, the Tony Hawk games focus more on arcadey and wacky fun, with Skate having more of a focus on the raw, gritty, and realistic side of street skating, introducing the Flick It trick system, a marvel of the time, letting you flick your analog stick to mimic the same foot movements you would do if you were actually skating. This system made for an experience that made you actually feel like you were skating instead of just watching a character skate on your screen. Combine this with the soundtrack consisting of songs commonly heard in skate videos, having actual skaters make appearances, clothing always seen worn by skaters, a replay system letting you record your tricks and make your own skate videos, and pretty realistic graphics of the time, mostly thanks to the grimy art style, and of course, the iconic piss filter. All of these combined made for a skating game that you didn't need to fly over buildings and jump over walls just to have fun in. You could get the same enjoyment that you get from getting 1,000,000 points in Tony Hawk from just hitting a simple stair set or a nice grind due to how real the game looks and feels to play. A lot of it came down to the small things. The way the wheels on your board sound when going across bricks, or the sharp pop that they make after landing from a high drop, the way people around you, be that pedestrians or other skaters, will react when landing or failing a trick, even down to the way your skater carries the momentum depending on how they land. And one thing was clear with this game.
So let me be clear.
The people who created it had a true passion for what this game stood for and the overall culture of skateboarding. Now take this 2 years later to 2008, Michael Jackson sadly passes away, and Bitcoin launches, creating the most annoying people you will ever see, but thankfully they won't be here until 5 years from now. And in this amazing year, we also had the release of the next game in the series, Skate 2, where they used the foundation from Skate 1 to improve all they could, making the mechanics feel even more realistic when pulling off tricks, as well as introducing new mechanics such as letting you get off your board and walk around, and letting you grab and move objects so you could create your own spots and get to harder to reach spots. New hand plant and foot plant tricks along with multiple new flip trick varieties, with it all set in a post-earthquake city to double down on the gritty nature of the first game. And instantly, Skate 2 became a masterpiece in many fans' eyes, and to this day is a lot of people's #1 favorite in the series, creating a perfect mix between the fun skating of years prior with the realistic in-your-face feel, cultivating in an iconic game that I myself will never forget. And EA didn't stop here. Just 1 year later in 2010 they released their highest selling game of the franchise and an icon in skating games, Skate 3. Which, while it stayed true to the foundation it laid before, it strayed a bit farther from the simplistic design of its predecessors, still having its gritty art style, featuring real skaters and brands, and introducing even more tricks than what we had before, with dart catches being one of my personal favorite tricks, as well as underflips. But there also seemed to be more of a focus on silly fun. For example, the brand new Hall of Meat mode, which is literally just a mode where you throw yourself off a high place and try to either break specific bones in a certain way, or just try to break as many bones as possible, as well as having a lot of different challenges that consisted of clearing insanely large gaps. And you might think that this was incredibly hated since they were starting to stray from the more realistic side of skating that these games had been known for. And while that was the case for a decent amount of fans, most people felt that the game was a nice middle ground between realistic skating and the goofy shit you're seeing on your screen right now. And for a while, that was it. We got some DLCs for Skate 3 later down the road, but for over a decade, Skate fans got nothing new, so people either went back to Skate 2 or just stuck with Skate 3, somewhat dividing the fanbase, but not too drastically. And throughout this time, people who stayed with these games, playing them consistently, grew incredibly attached to them, finding every little bug and glitch the game had to offer, creating your own clothing with things like the black box glitch letting you put pretty much whatever you wanted on your clothes, even creating different playstyles for the game, like competitive players who would only do certain tricks that gave the most points possible to get the highest score that they can get. You had trick liners who would utilize the different glitches in the game to help pop in the air and do flips whenever you wanted, and of course there was still the realistic skaters who often put the game to the hardest difficulty, making it feel way more realistic compared to the other difficulties. And there were also smaller communities of other playstyles like hippie flips, but I'm not here to name all of them. The point that I'm trying to make is that people dissected Skate 3 for all it had over the years, and even before that it was an amazing game that did, in my opinion, a perfect job of creating a skating game that skewed the lines between a skating simulator and a Tony Hawk game, cementing itself as one of the greats when it comes to skating games. And now let's take this 10 years later to 2020. I don't really think I need to explain what was going on in 2020, and in a pretty dark year for most people, EA came out of nowhere and showed fans the next entry in the series. Or was it? Skate. Not Skate 4, Skate. With a period. What most people were hoping was Skate 4 was actually a reboot of the series, which wasn't that crazy of a decision looking back on it. But this isn't where the problems really lied. As more and more news about this game started coming out and people realized it was going to be a free-to-play game, sirens were already going off in people's ears. But this was still very early in the game's development, and there was no true way to see how the game would shape out in the bare-bones state it was currently in. But thankfully, as time went on, the development team started releasing interviews as development updates, telling fans that even though this game is in its early stages and has a long way to go, they are keeping the fans updated and most of all are listening to the fans, trying to add what fans are asking for. And this becomes almost laughable how many times it's said. If you go back and watch these interviews, damn near every video mentions listening to player feedback at least once.
We took what we know, what you told us.
To do that, we're embracing and building on everything our community found special about the previous games and is giving us feedback on.
To all of our Skate Insiders who have rolled with us so far, your feedback, insights, and how you play have influenced our features and goals.
Your feedback, you're informing us of what needs to get done and what we need to do.
And this might seem like a simple thing for me to harbor over, but I just want to make it clear how much these devs were talking about them listening to player feedback. So now let's fast forward a couple years to 2020 when people are starting to get their hands on the closed alpha playtest. So keep in mind that this game was in alpha by this point. And when people got the game, instead of the things asked for the most being in the game, we didn't even see things that were already in the previous 3 games. For example, this closed alpha didn't have any dart catches, finger flips, any skate brands besides Vans, any actual appearances from skaters, and plenty more was missing. But what we did have was a new annoying AI robot spouting lines straight out of a Disney movie like Skater-tastic, as if these are terms used by skaters, a horrible art style that you would honestly think is Fortnite if you weren't holding a skateboard, a horrible soulless open world that feels like an empty snail shell, a goofy ass soundtrack, and full-fledged microtransactions, in a fucking alpha playtest. We have more of a focus on the microtransactions than the tricks that were in all 3 previous games in a skating game. But I do want to give Skate 4 a chance and talk about what it did right immediately. 1, the actual feeling of the gameplay itself is incredible and definitely is a step up from Skate 3's skating, even if it is incredibly minor in comparison. But they also introduced the mechanic of letting you hold your flip tricks for as long as you want instead of only being able to do quad flips like Skate 3. And that was pretty much it. I mean, I guess you could give some credit to the developers because whenever there was any minor glitches, these got patched very quickly with very quick updates. But at the same time, this is kind of a double-edged sword because if you played Skate 3 when you were growing up, you know for a fact that the glitches are what makes that game so fun at the end of the day. And for some reason, these were in the game when they first released, like when they had the playtests, but eventually the devs just ended up getting rid of all of these fun glitches that made the game genuinely just a lot more fun to mess with. But at the same time, while they were fixing all of those glitches that were actually fun to use, there are still challenges in Skate 4 that are bugged to this day, and they have been bugged since the playtest. But for some strange reason, the item shop has never bugged. Never been a glitch there. I wonder why. But what I'm trying to get at is the fact that this game lacked all of the beloved things from the Skate series that made it what it is. No gritty art style, no skaters, no skate brands, no appreciation for the skating culture that made this series blow up in the first place. Now this might seem like I'm being way too harsh on a game that is only an alpha, and I just want to hate on this game. But remember what the devs said. They were listening to what fans wanted and trying to add only what the fans were looking for. And judging from how things were at this point, they were doing anything but listening to fans. But let's go forward just a little bit. The Skate playtest closes with plenty of people wanting to keep playing, and plenty of people feeling like it couldn't have ended sooner. Throughout this time, the Skate team keeps releasing videos where they kept spewing the same thing that they have been spewing this whole time, but now it starts getting very obvious that they just aren't listening, going as far as to make a video titled that they're reading your comments just to answer questions that really didn't hold any sort of importance in terms of what fans were looking for with this game, and it becomes extremely apparent when you look at the comments in these videos. All of the comments are saying, please add an offline mode, and in offline mode does not get mentioned once. And if this isn't already giving you red flags, just wait because it's going to get a lot worse. Later on in 2025, we got a roadmap detailing the devs' plans for season 1 to 3. We're talking battle passes for each season, we're talking the same boring map each season, and we're talking slowly drip feeding tricks that should already be in the game at launch. And this is just another huge red flag that people ignored, but anyway, we go a month further and Skate 4 releases in early access. And what do we see? The exact same fucking game that we seen in alpha. Same shitty clothes, same somewhat decent clothes that you can't get unless you're bleeding money, same shitty AI robots, no dart catches, no finger flips, a total of 3 skate brands, the same horrible soundtrack, and of course, still no offline mode. You could tell the devs were doing a great job listening to player feedback. I'm sure that they care about your wants for this game, judged by the fact that you were ignored several times and are now forced to deal with the opposite of what you've been asking for this entire time. People defended this, by the way. If you went out and said that you didn't like something from Fortnite's new skating game mode, you were either told that you were stuck on nostalgia or that you were just forcing your hate on this game. Which in my opinion is pretty ironic considering that you pretty much need to force yourself to like this game. You can't interact with half of the game's mechanics if you want to have a similar fun experience compared to the other games, but whatever you say. This was a huge problem. After all this talk of listening to player feedback and all these trailers where we were basically just getting lied to, we're now left with a half-assed interpretation of what a skating game is supposed to be. And as we went on, none of these people were listened to. The same issues stayed with the game, and the only things the devs were worried about was either fixing small bugs nobody ran into and were actually fun in some cases, while leaving bigger glitches like challenges not resetting or some challenge goals never being able to be unlocked still being problems as I'm writing the script. All while people were defending $1 million company that didn't care about them, saying that the game is only in early access and we shouldn't be so critical of the game, even though that is literally the point of a game being in early access when you have devs that give even the slightest shit. So to try to rest my case on this game, I'm going to list off all the pros and cons about this game being as objective as my brain will let me. Let's start off with the pros. 1. Skating feels amazing. Truly. It feels incredibly satisfying to do even the simplest things in this game, which is great to see. 2nd, it is insanely fun to mess around with your friends and do challenges or just mess with other players. For example, I like to go to this huge ramp on the map and put a rail at the end so people bail once they hit the end of the ramp. You can call me a dick for this all you want, but this is genuinely some of the most fun I've had on this game. And lastly, I do think that the seasonal changes to the map are nice and keeps the open world from getting stale as quickly as if it wasn't there at all. And that's pretty much it when it comes to the pros of this game. The art style, while it did get a slight change to the lighting, still looks like Fortnite to this day. There's corny AI robots saying phrases no skater would say. Most of the free clothing options are either horrible or take literal weeks of grinding and opening up loot boxes. Oh yeah, did I mention there are loot boxes in this fucking game? Now I'm gonna go on a little bit of a 3-minute rant here on just the way that loot boxes are working in this game, so skip to this time if you want to skip that. So on the map, there is 3 different regions, with a 4th that will be unlocked whenever EA thinks we deserve it, so probably never. In each of these regions are different challenges, whether that be Hall of Meat, following a line, or doing certain amount of tricks and grinds, as well as some other examples. For completing one goal in each of these challenges, you get an amount of rep for that section of the map, letting you level up and open different loot boxes. And you would also get the currency you would use to open these loot boxes. And this system on its own isn't that bad, since you literally cannot pay for loot boxes with real money and you have to do challenges to open them. The problem comes from the fact that after completing a challenge, you need to wait 24 hours for it to reset. So if you do every challenge in an area and still don't have enough XP to level up, you have to wait 24 hours for these challenges to reset. And when the challenges do reset, it doesn't reset all of them, only about half of the challenges in that specific section of the map. So let's say you're grinding the first area of the game you unlock called Hedgemont. In Hedgemont, there's a loot box for getting to level 9 that has a pair of skeleton pants being one of the only decent pairs of pants you could get for free in the game that aren't just normal pairs of jeans. You would have to grind every challenge in Hedgemont, wait 24 hours for only half of your challenges to reset, do them all again, with very little variation on what challenges you're being given, so you're probably just going to be doing the same challenges over and over again, and keep repeating that for over a week until you could finally unlock one pair of fucking pants. And of course, you could just bypass all of these trials and tribulations by getting your wallet out and buying the new $25 skin in the item shop. And just to add insult to injury, if you had played the alpha pretest and already already unlocked these pants, once early access came out, they wiped everyone's progress, forcing you to do it all over again. I know because this fucking happened to me. It just goes to show how much these devs valued the people who grinded their game. You spent a week grinding the same out of like 4 different challenges, just to unlock one piece of clothing, just to get it taken away during early access. People defend this, by the way. And it doesn't stop there. Do you know that since this game entered alpha and had its first playtest, there has probably been less than 10 new challenges in the game in total? For months and months, people have been doing these same challenges that were in the game on launch, leading you to getting on, doing some challenges that you've already done multiple times, opening a loot box, skating around the empty open world, and boom, it's been 30 minutes and you're already bored out of your fucking skull. The challenges themselves are also just not very fun or original. Half the time it's just flying around the map. You're literally on your skateboard less than you're in the air flying in a fucking skating game. And sadly, that doesn't even scratch the surface with what's wrong with this game. Now obviously, EA is an extremely money-hungry company, but it is done to incredible levels in this game, and most of my frustration with it is because people that defend it and are okay with it. Skate 4 has 4 different currencies. We already talked about 2 of them being the Sand Van Bucks, being the normal currency you pay money for, and Rip Chips, which you get for free by doing challenges. Then there's Ticks, which is something you could either earn or pay for and is used solely for the Battle Pass. I say that you could earn the Ticks currency, which you technically can just by doing the monthly challenges that you get for it, but you also are supposed to be able to earn it from doing actual challenges on the map, the same way that you could earn the normal Rip Chips from it. So pretty much your only chance of actually earning this currency without paying money is to do the monthly challenges, which obviously are only monthly, so you're not going to be able to actually earn these consistently unless you just pay for them, of course. And a seasonal currency that is only earnable that changes depending on the holiday update. And as if this isn't bad enough, the options for what you can get with these seasonal free currencies are a complete fucking joke. So it's obvious that even though EA created 4 different types of currencies, they all end up funneling you to either grind the game so people are stuck grinding instead of actually enjoying the game, because in EA's eyes, a player is just a money symbol whether they're having fun or not, or you could just give out your wallet and get what you actually want. People defend this, by the way. And now, let's flash forward to present day. Skate is still in the same place it was when it first released, only adding new seasonal currencies, 1 new trick, and a fucking lighting overhaul, all while still not listening to anything the players have been asking for since day 1. To this day, Skate 4 still has no dark catches, no finger flips, no underflips, no grabbing your board when grinding, no games of skate, no spot battles, no races, no skate team where you could customize it to your liking, no real appearances from skaters besides a floating PNG, and most of all, no, and I mean no appreciation or love for skating, skating culture, or the fans of these games. And at this point, most people are done with this game, going from averaging 70k players when it first released, then just a month later dropping to 20k, and then the next month it was already under 10k, and now the game can't even average 5k players, and the game, according to EA at least, isn't even done. But if you've played this game before, you probably know that even years from now, the only thing that we can expect from this game is to have its servers shut down instead of it becoming what it could have been if we had devs that cared about what they produced, and if we just had people who cared about the video games they played. There are still people defending this game to this day, saying it's only in early access, not knowing that it's that complicitness with this mediocre game we've been given that is the whole reason EA thinks this is okay. They know that they can produce a half-ass product but stick a name on it that we all know and love and get idiots to defend their $1,000,000 company because the kickflip looks really nice when you do it. So this is just a bit of a side note, but while I was working on this video, EA came out with a new announcement, announcing that in the new season they're actually going to be bringing back Tutorial Island, having some of the best spots on the whole entire game's map, and was left inaccessible to us after completing the tutorial. So you might be thinking that EA is trying to get back in our good graces and give us something that the players have actually been asking for a very long time. But because EA knows that this is something that players genuinely truly want, they decided to lock Tutorial Island behind a fucking paywall. Just another example of EA knowing that they could do something right for the community, make something good with this game, and instead choosing to charge you out of the ass for it. And I know I've said it a lot during this video, but people actually defend this shit. And that is the true reason I made this video. So hopefully somebody watching this, when they see another game do it in the future, they won't be okay with shoving shit down their throats just because the word free is slapped on it. And yeah, that's pretty much all the ranting I wanted to do for this video. I had originally planned to go at this more professionally, but that's never been my strong suit, and I felt like I could get my feelings about this game across the same way. And let me just say, if you are someone who likes Skate 4, that is completely fine. At the end of the day, you have the right to like whatever game you like. I just feel like if you like this game, you might like the new game Get Robbed at Gunpoint Simulator, releasing in early access with half of the game's mechanics missing but with 5 different in-game currencies releasing this fall. Anyway, if you guys would like to share your thoughts on this amazing game that is Give Me Your Money or Fuck Off, feel free to leave them in the comments below. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. If you guys enjoyed, be sure to like and subscribe, and yeah, bye!
Your feedback, you're informing us of what needs to get done and what we need to do.